Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We're going to continue our flight into the deep of this amazing ancient language. It is contemporary as well because we do have some contemporary expressions like what we shared yesterday. 幻想曲 is a translation of the Western music genre. That's fantasia. It's kind of illusory. It's moving thoughts, wandering thoughts kind of a melody. It's meandering through time. And today we continue with that 幻 in 幻梦幻泡影. 梦幻泡影 is a Chinese way. You will see in the next slide, but I'll explain each one first. 梦, it's a beautiful word. Like whenever I was seeing this word, immediately it comes to me, my senses as it's something related to dream. I mean, that's almost like a knee-jerk response because I've been using this symbol all my life. So I just simply relate that to dream. Instead, like when I'm learning English, I have to remember dream. But I think dream is one of the few or many English words that comes to me. And the first time I see it, I feel, oh, it does look like a dream. There are some English words as well as Chinese words when you see it just visually or in terms of English, it's audibly, it sounds like that. So I remember very clearly when I was learning English, ceiling. That just sounds like a ceiling. I don't know how, like that. It's kind of a random connection I made. And so just by once, that's okay. I was told the ceiling, that means the top of the roof in your space. That just sounds like that. So same to 梦, it just looks like dream. And okay, let's unpack it. We have this oval shape with diagonal lines. I mean, we don't see diagonal lines that often in Chinese, but I guess it's a stylized eyeball depiction because oval shape, that's the eye opening. And then we have this diagonal line somehow stylized. It should be just two lines as a separation of the border between the iris. I mean, in my case, it's black eyeball, iris, with from separation from the white portion, right? So black and white, you can see that's our depiction of the eyeball just visually. And then there's two vertical line, horizontal line, vertical line, horizontal line, kind of symmetrical looking top. That's kind of a blockage to the eye. Okay, so this is upper portion depicting visually blurry, like you cannot see things fully clearly. Okay, the bottom portion is kind of a space with this kind of a huge question mark thing here with this connector, this tip on the top. That's a space, domestic space, most likely, because it's kind of a wrap around. So it's kind of a, in the caveman age, there's almost like a cave with a small entrance. So it's kind of a safe, secure, warm, probably space. So it's a domestic space. And then we have this symbol. That's our moon symbol or like evening symbol. That means it's nighttime. So, I mean, this is not exactly moon. Moon got another diagonal line here, but here is our symbol for the evening. So I regard it as kind of depicting the shape of the moon hanging there. So we have nighttime at home or domestic space, and your eyes are not clear visioned. So with all that symbols stacking up together, that's our depiction of dream. Where it happens, when it happens, right? And how it feels when it happens. That's the phenomenon of dream. The Chinese way to express that's our dream. And eventually it got simplified into contemporary Chinese that look like that. And we only keep this evening portion exactly the same. And the top kind of simplified into this tree, like a forest, which has nothing to do with blurry-eyed concept. So simplified further distance or block the contemporary Chinese users from the origins of the language. Like it's harder to understand, but because I have been using this symbol all my life, so it's like coming to me, it looks just like a dream. Okay. So 梦幻, again, we have this illusion. So last time I translated as adjective, illusory, and it came from the flipping. So this word flipped 180 degrees, that's self-referral concept. And that came from like a gift giving. So there are two hands, triangles represent two hands, a kind of giving facing each other. But it's flipped 180 degrees. So it's kind of flipped, twisted reality. So that's our illusion. Dream, illusion, and then we have bubble. Okay, bubble comes from this water sign on the left. So we have this ancient, pretty visually complex way to depict water, which has this aerodynamic, not aerodynamic, fluid dynamic shape of this water. And then we have side streams, and like one of them connected to. So it's kind of like from one mainstream body separated into two. So that's basically a visual depicting of how water, how fluid will pass, charter its path through space, right? But this is too complicated in simplified Chinese. It's just dot, dot, dot. So we have falling, falling, rising. And this rising one got to be about roughly 2 times length of the 2 shorter one. So we simplify it by 3. And it's kind of like a main body is the main, and then the 2 sides are the 1. So that's, I guess, how it got abstracted further into this. So whenever you see this sign, you know this is something related to water. And then we have this again, like a big question mark shape with a chimney. So that's a domestic space. Not, I guess, it's not necessarily domestic. It's a safe, wrapped, protected space. And then inside, it's almost like looking like the ear, right? Your shape of your ear. And that's our depiction of a worm. So a worm in that secure, wrapped space, kind of a hibernating, or I don't know, trying to grow from a worm to a butterfly. I don't know, it's incubation period. But that's our origin of this concept of wrapping. And I heard, I mean, not I heard, I researched, I read that ancient Chinese have this habit of eating worms as well. I mean, Chinese probably notorious for eating anything that can move. And so this worm eating practice was before, like they were wrapped in a type of mud and cooked, kind of slow heat in that sense. So actually that worm is not safe and secure, it's being cooked. And this wrap, the mud around worm that's wrapping sense alive, like stayed alive throughout. Eventually that becomes wrapping. We forgot about the worm, the origin, the food of worm cooking from the origin. But it's wrapping. Okay, so wrapping and water. I mean, is that reasonable to deduct? That's bubble, because it's water forms a wrap. Water wrap, that's a bubble, right? I guess that's a very logical interpretation of the images here. Okay, bubble, shadow. Shadow, you can see the contemporary and the ancient one. There is this portion missing. So this portion of 3 diagonal lines, the kind of, I think 30 degree, about a 30 degree, and this one is a little bit more. So it's a repeated pattern, and it's different from the water sign. It's a different direction, even if it's 3. And the length of it is, you know, nuance of the language. It's longer stroke. So these 3 are almost the length of this water sign, the longest stroke upward, but they all go in the same direction, down, diagonally downward. And that 3 means a sort of a pattern, right? 3 occurrence of the same thing. So it's a sort of a pattern. And here, the 景 means scenery. So we have the sun symbol on the top, which is just container with energy in the middle. It's our sun. And then we have this roof symbol with a little tip, chimney. And we have this, what is that? Some people say it looks like a bird or something, or draping of something. But I don't know. Now looking at the picture, it looks like a person. This is the head of person. This is kind of the arm, the center opening of the clothing of the person, and with this head cone thing. So this is the sun above this person. I can interpret it like that, right? Visually, you can imagine that looks like that, right? Almost like Kung Fu Panda image, right? And with the sun above it. So that original means scenery. But if from the original, just go one step further down the history of the forming of this concept, the bottom portion, somehow, it means capital. And I guess the capital came from this rooftop. So there are some architectures over there, and it's kind of stacking high. So only economy or towns are well developed. Urbanization back then in ancient times, relatively urbanization can afford to have any structure that's kind of above the ground, standing tall, right? So that's our tall standing roofed architecture, and that was used to mean that's the capital. So that's the biggest town of this land. So that's capital with the sun on the top. That means it's shiny, it's a really bright day. And that eventually means the scenery. So you have natural sunny day and a city, the most prosperous, most busy town in your land visible, and that's some sight to be seen. So, okay, that with the shadow added, I mean, with this reoccurring pattern added later, we can see, I mean, that's just literally means with architecture, with the sun, and then you have some recurring patterns in there. That's a reasonable combination of shadow, how shadow was created, right? It has the sun got involved, and have some blocking of the sun of this architectures over there, and then forms this recurring pattern. Okay, so 梦幻泡影 is a Chinese, very verbiage way to say smoke and mirrors. And smoke and mirrors are relatively new English expressions. I checked it out. It started by some journalists in 1975 to probably depicting the magicians commonly used props. That's smokes and mirrors evolved, and so creating some illusions. So I guess this is a fancy way to say illusion, but in English, it's mirror and smoke used, these two symbols used. But Chinese, we have dream, we have illusion, we have bubble, we have shadow. All that elements form this visual image. For us, 梦幻泡影 is our way, long-winded way to express its illusion. It can be, you can wake up from the dream, you can come to your senses from the illusion, the bubble can burst anytime, and the shadow can be get rid of, removed by just shine a light on it. So all of these are very easy to change situations. So they are not real, they are not long-term. They can be changed in a flip, in a flick of your switch. You can turn a shadowed place into well-lit space. So that's our 梦幻泡影, our smoke and mirrors. Cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.